Thank you so much. A warm welcome to our workshop today. You will agree with me that yesterday was great. So many lessons were learned. We're looking forward to the hands-on today. So in starting our program, we'll close our eyes as we pray. Shall we pray? Heavenly Father, we come before you. We want to thank you for the gift of life today. We thank you that you protected us through the night. We also thank you for an opportunity to learn more on how to teach and handle the little children. We pray and ask for the gift of the Spirit to be with our presenters, but also to be with us, that He will be the one to teach us and also to help us understand and grant the power to implement that which we are learning today. Bless all who join us later on in the day, and also bless our families. We thank you, Lord, because you are good and you hear us. Forgive us of any sin, for we pray in Jesus' name. Amen. Okay, so thank you so much. The introductions were done today. So today I would like to call upon our first presenter. I usually call you Uncle Caleb. Brother Caleb, please, to share with us. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My presentation is very short. We will finish, I think, under at most under 20 minutes. Okay. So the topic that I'm looking at this morning, or that we are looking at together, is how we can find resources for children as we teach, or as we desire to improve in our learning experience. And I will begin like this. Yeah, we have come this far by faith. I don't know how many remember us in the days of the picture roll. These were very exciting days when Sabbath was taught to us. And so we will see how we moved from that era to where we are. Before there was Gracelink, there was Malamulo Publishing House in Malawi. This printing press was responsible for production of books, including Sabbath material for then the East Africa division. Some materials and books that could not be produced at Malamulo Publishing House were shipped to Africa from the General Conference. Most material for children, like picture rolls that we used to use, were coming from the GC. There were challenges then because of the supply chain. So most teaching material was not readily available. There were some churches that seem to have had an edge over others because of probably the connections that they had. I spent my childhood in Luancha, and so for churches like Central Church, where Elder Kalulu from Brentwood used to worship, they were always ahead of some of our congregations. The other challenge that was there was the late arrival of the material. Then there was also loss of teaching material through theft, and at times leaders and teachers not handing over the picture rolls and other things that were used at the end of the year. Other than that, there was also the challenge of not having the complete sets of the picture rolls. Then restocking was not easy. Then tear and wear was also another challenge. So your picture rows in January, if you looked at them in December, they were not the same. And so because of that, preparing lessons for children was not easy. It was not strange in those days to see a Sabbath school teacher using the famous Arthur Maxwell Bible storybooks. It was also not strange to see someone probably using my Bible story from our friends, the Jehovah's Witness. Because of that, there was no standard guideline to follow for those who were teaching children. Whereas the adults had the adult study guide, the picture row I think was or did not have the study guide accompanying it, unless for others who went beyond to find the accompanying study guides. Other than that, like I mentioned earlier, most churches had incomplete sets of picture row. And so because of that, you would have maybe a picture row that you are using this quarter. Because you don't have the follow-up picture row, you continue using that same material in the following quarter, and this could easily irritate some children, especially those who were very good at remembering the lessons that were taught. We did move and make some progress, especially in Zambia, with the coming of Zambia Adventist Printing Press, through the support of the mission offering. In the 1990s, I think we had ZAP opened in Zambia. More children Sabbath school material is now published locally, and so the worldwide standard content is available for us. Through the wide chain distribution of ABC outlet and literature evangelists, we are able to get the study guides on time. The price is also affordable. Other than the study guides for children, there are also other children's material which are available today. But even with ZAP and other book outlets where we can get books, we still do have some challenges here and there whenever we are looking for materials to use when teaching children. The first one, of course, being the ever-rising production costs. And so ZAP today is not able really to produce as much material as they would. And also there's a challenge of understanding the market. And so there are times when certain books are produced or certain study guides are produced in very low quantities. By the time we are trying to acquire them as churches, such material is no longer available. Then there are also materials that ZAP, I don't know if understand, they do not produce. For example, the real-time faith study guide and the collegiate that is used for the young adults. Other than that, study guides for teachers are not just available. So even with us having our local press, at times getting materials for children is still a challenge. But we thank God for the internet. We have materials that are readily available. And so today the challenges that our parents who used to teach Sabbath who used to face, I think we should not really give excuses, because the internet has given us the advantage. Someone said the internet has pushed the gospel on the fastest wings that it can travel on. So there's so much information, there's so much material that has come because of the internet. Other than that, because of the internet, we are also able to develop networks with others who are teaching children through communication tools like email, WhatsApp, Twitter, Facebook, and others. Then there are also resources where we can find training videos that we can use for us to improve our teaching. Over the past years, have been attending seminars for VBS from Advent Source, and these seminars are quite quite helpful whenever we are preparing for vacation Bible school. And so, like I said, the teacher for Sabbath school today has got so much uh, material around. But the question is, how then do we get to use this material? A quotation from Council on Sabbath School work, page 18 says, the student of Sabbath school should feel as thoroughly in earnest to become intelligent in the knowledge of scripture as to excel in the study of science. So really the same efforts that we put in when we are doing our bachelors, when we are doing our masters, that's the same effort that we should put in when we are looking for material for children. Today we no longer depend on the printing press for us to get the study guides. Everything that we need for our Sabbath school is readily available, including the mission stories and the videos that can help us as we deliver the lessons. And so really the first stop whenever we are looking for children's teaching material is no other place than Google. On my screen, you can see that I typed in Google the search for the lesson that we had, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago, and those are the results that I was given. So just as we use Google for our work, for our research, we too can use it for looking for resources to teach the children. The Adventist Church through the General Conference has also invested so much in making sure that we have resources available for children. There you can see the many sites that we have. GraceLink, I think, gives us all the materials from beginners up to PowerPoint. Then we have Real Time Faith, Cornerstone, and the other sites where we can get material for our teaching. I also need to mention that this material is also available through our smartphones, our tablets, and so if you are using either Android or iOS device, you can get the app and you can install it. It's quite helpful. Other than the app, the other stop where we can get so much is YouTube. Just like Google, where we get whatever we need, on YouTube we can get things that can help us in video form to enhance our teaching and learning experience for our students. YouTube is a very resourceful tool, especially for those that are teaching or taking lower classes, beginners to primary. But even those that are teaching higher classes, YouTube is also a resourceful station. Then we also have our GraceLink sites. They have given us the videos and the lessons. So there is provision for you as a teacher or as a parent to actually download these videos and use them at a later stage. And when we go to the GraceLink site, when you click on the video in the right corner, I think when you click the share, it will give you the options to share the video through Facebook, through email, and also there's a link that opens up which can help you to download the video. Other than that, there are also tools that you can use to download videos. But I must mention that some of these tools, when you are using them, I think you must exercise care. It brings up pop-up sites, for usually sites that are not good betting sites, and sites that may have content that may not be appropriate. I've given that as one example. And so really, as a teacher for today, we have so much that we can use to improve our teaching experience, to ensure that we have so much resource. I must be quick to mention that the Seventh-day Adventist Church is less than 200 years old. So some of the best materials that you may find on teaching children may not necessarily be that which is produced by our church. And so even when we are looking for information for teaching children, we should try as much as possible as teachers not to just limit ourselves to what is produced by our church. A simple type like how to improve as a Sunday school teacher in Google or YouTube will give you so much information. And this can come either in PDF, it can be a website, it can be a video. It just depends on what is it that you really want when you go to the internet. Like I mentioned earlier, the internet also helps us to get not just material for Sabbath school, but even other material that we can use. For those of us that are teaching lower classes, it's also very helpful that we can get our crafts and other suggested activities, including decorations, from the internet. And you may have noticed that most of our children's material is produced with a Western culture context in the mind of the producers. And so internet does help us to find substitutes for some of the suggested activities or crafts. For example, in the lesson for last week, I think there was a suggestion that we visit the graveyard. In Africa, I think we rarely do such. We don't play around the graveyard. I know Memorial Park has improved that you can go there for just visit, but traditionally, I think we rarely go to the graveyard. So, as a teacher, really, you may not need to restrict yourself to the proposed activity in the or the suggested activity in the lesson. You can just search and look for something that can help you contextualize your lesson. Uh, yeah, we come to this part: tips for using the internet as a resource for teaching. I must be quick to say that really there are no tips for using the internet. It is like searching for Google on Google, so it will just put you into an infinite loop. The best tip I think that I could give as we try to use the internet as a resource too is for us to have a prayerful approach when we are looking for the material, and God as a way in which He guides us to the right place on the internet, big as it may be. When you have prayed as you are preparing for your lessons, God will definitely guide you. And as we look for these materials, I must mention that it is quite an exciting experience to find some of the things that we find. And we are not just doing this for fun, but we are also growing in our spiritual experience. Luke 2 verse 52 tells us Jesus grew in wisdom, stature, and in favor of God and man. And so we too, as teachers for children, as we search and look for information, our character develops to that of Jesus, since we are looking for information that is helpful in us shaping the character of children. And so really, let's go out there and put in as much effort as we do when we are doing our bachelor's, our master's, and whatever studies that we do. That can also apply when we are looking for materials for teaching children. This is my short presentation. I hand over to the chair. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Could there be any questions or comments? Uncle Caleb has taken us through the history, where we came from up to where we are now. Quite a tremendous improvement and fulfillment of the prophecy that knowledge shall increase. Any questions or comments? Yes, Brother Simolondo, I see your hand.
Hello, thank you very much. Good morning. Thank you, Uncle Caleb, for that presentation. My question or probably comment is you made a statement to say that some of these material will be unprofitable to produce. I was thinking we are non-profit. So being non-profit probably, I'm not sure, probably as they scan the market to produce some of these materials, maybe the thought would be, will they make, will this be sustained in terms of producing it frequently throughout? If they can get the necessary people to, people that may be interested in the material that they buy, but to sustain the production over the years, not really that we should make profit. The profit is eternal. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Uncle Simolondo. Uncle Caleb, would you want to react to that, or we take it as a comment?
No, we take it as a comment. I'm sure when we'll be submitting those that will be going for our, what is that meeting where our church members are represented? Our sessions, I think we can make those suggestions through our church boards.
Thank you so much, Uncle Caleb. I actually thought that maybe we could actually begin to think of funding some of these things, or finding well-wishers, as people would put it. Thank you so much. Uncle Fred, I see your hand. Is it the same question in the chat box?
No, it's not. It is just a small comment concerning what Elder Simulundo has mentioned.
Okay, please go ahead. Then maybe you can even ask the question that you typed in the chat box.
Okay, it's just the issue of the profit issue.
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, it's more to do with the sustainability of the production. So the scale, the numbers matter a lot. And I think that's where the biggest challenge is. I don't know whether it could be the issue of the issue of publicity, which could be lacking. But if the response is there, I think it's more sustainable for production to be done in bulk. They normally talk about not less than 500 copies or so, for them to reach a point where they can be sustainable, just to be able to meet the operating costs. I think in terms of profit, yes, it's non-profitable, because when you look at if you were to print on your own and bind, when you look at the cost of that and how much you get a physical copy from these like Zap, it's comparably very low. That's what I just wanted to say. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Uncle Fred Kangelesa. He had earlier posted a question in the chat box saying, is there a provision for those physically challenged with eyes in terms of study guides? Uncle Caleb, are you able to help with that?
We have noted, I think we inquire from the church whether we are producing any material for the physically challenged.
Thank you so much. All right, we move.
Sorry, and Lemba, just a small maybe advice to all us as teachers. The ZAP has been producing study guides, the hard copy ones. They cover 2 quarters for each production. So currently what we have is a study guide which covers Q1 and Q2. And the next production will cover 3rd and 4th quarter. Now, the challenge that is there now is that they have been encountering a lot of losses when they produce based on what they think people will buy. So they have been they have migrated to a strategy where they require us to order them, so that they produce just according to the orders, so that they reduce their costs. So we are encouraged as leaders, facilitators, teachers, parents to organize ourselves and be able to submit those requirements a quarter before the actual quarter comes. So for example, for the production of 3rd and 4th quarter, they'll start doing it in April. So which means by the end of this quarter, which is the first quarter in which we are, we should be able to provide our orders, or else it becomes then very difficult for us to access those copies. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We'll now move to our next presenter, who's our pastor, Pastor Mfune, who's taking us on a talk on enhancing the Bible story or Sabbath school lesson using visual aids and puppets. Those of you who have attended our camp meetings could see the excitement by the children as they see the puppets. Pastor, please take the floor. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yes, talking about puppets and visual aids when teaching in a class. Let me start, Uncle Caleb. Yesterday I went to visit a church member and I saw a picture of, and it just brought back so many memories. I'm like, oh, my childhood, just seeing that hanging on the wall. And I could remember week after week how they would scroll through that picture roll. So yes, good times, good upbringings, but we have to move with the times. And I think I should also be quick to mention that this ministry, working with children, is not your three-piece suit type of ministry. Now, I'm not saying that to justify my dress code, but you'll understand why I'm dressed the way I'm dressed by the end of the lesson. But yeah, because when I'm saying it's not a three-piece, three-piece suit type of thing, because every now and again, you're going to have to get down. You're going to have to roll around, just to get them excited and to allow whatever it is that you are sharing to come to life. So you need to always understand that as teachers, the Sabbath school time, do stuff that is going to bring out the lesson. You might be the visual aid that they need. Okay, so let me put it that way. So you have to really try and figure yourself out when it comes to that. Just something also in response to maybe the last question that was being asked about the Sabbath school lessons for the blind and other things. Maybe we can be creative and think outside the box. If you go online, you might hear, you might find on YouTube or other places where they're sharing the Bible stories, and they're different characters, different voices. So maybe we can bring out the lesson in that way for our friends who are blind or who have other impairments. We can just try like a radio program, but with the Sabbath school lesson. So we make it so animated that they're able to understand what is being shared, but listening on their phone, whatever gadget that they have, they can still learn the lesson in that way. Since maybe at this point, we haven't yet started producing any Braille type of lesson guides for them. Okay, now I was going through something from Ministry Magazine that was written in February of 1989, some ways back. But in this particular issue, they had something that said putting school back in Sabbath school. putting school back in Sabbath school. And I found some pretty interesting points that I would like us to just rush through, and maybe at some point we'll just focus on one or two that are written here. Putting school back in Sabbath school. This is from Ministry Magazine, February 1989. The first thing they say there is we should create in the students, so this is for kids and older people, we should create in the students a need to know. They should realize that there is something that they're going to grasp from that lesson. So you can begin the class with some interesting example. You can begin the class with a question, okay, that will just make them begin to think and sit there wondering, or a quotation, something that is relevant to whatever it is that you're about to, or some visual aid, anything that is going to capture their
Is there
attention
sound there?
and keep them focused on what is.
You can hear.
Two, make your information relevant. Show how the book
It's my laptop.
is. Number three, organize your materials
Sorry,
ahead of time.
sorry, Pastor. Uncle Caleb, kindly mute your mic. Thank you, Pastor. You may continue.
All right, thank you. Organize your materials ahead of time. Many times when it comes to children's activities, children's programs, we leave it to the last minute, which is very wrong. We need to prepare for our children ahead of time. Show them that they mean that much to us, because they can see the effort that has been put in the preparation. Kids notice these things. Don't think that we're fooling them in any way. They'll notice, and they'll easily shut off when they see that these people didn't prepare for me. So I feel there's no reason for me to even listen if they don't take me seriously. So prepare for the children ahead of time. Prepare your materials, put them together, organize your room, know where everything is going to be. Repeat important points. Whatever it is that you feel they really need to grasp, repeat it. And I'm sure, sorry, yesterday I had to leave to chair a board, but either yesterday or today, I'm sure when you're talking about the younger classes, that thought is going to be brought in, that you repeat and you say it over and over so that it's drilled into them. Even with the older ones, those important points, keep on saying them, bring them back every now and again, repeat those important points. Don't overload your students. Don't try and bring everything out in one day. Look, even you and I mean, 5 to 9 points and we're good to go. But where you now start to try and, okay, there's this, there's that, this information overload, they're just going to explode and can't handle it all. So figure that out. Try and just bring what is needed for that little piece or that time that you're spending with them. Use visual aids, which is what we're going to dwell on for quite some time here. Use visual aids. But when you're doing that, do not spend too much time on the visual aids. Like, do not focus on the visual aids. Do not speak to the visual aids. Remember that it is just there to assist in what you're teaching. But there's so many times where we get caught up in the visual aids that we forget where we're going, where we're coming from, that we forget that we have an audience, we have children that are sitting around listening. So as you're using your visual aid, do not get so caught up on the visual aid. Now the visual aid can be stuff like a poster, okay? You can get cutouts from magazines. Now this show that you've prepared, because you have cutouts. We have our friends muted once again. Okay, great. There'll be all those cutouts that will be there, and you've posted it to on a paper, so that whatever lesson that you're driving at will be seen there, and people will be able, the kids will be able to see and understand that, oh, okay, this is probably the direction that we're going. So it could be posters, pictures, maps, charts that you've made using a flannel board, okay, where you can put up felts, a chalkboard, or even a projector, if you're able to do so, or actual objects. You can bring a stone, you can bring tree leaves and branches. There's so many things that you can use just from nature, or things that are just around the house, old boxes, uh, remains from, you know, the tissue roll, that little part that remains afterwards. I mean, there's so many things that can be used as visual aids. But as you're using visual aids, remember, do not talk to the visual aids, just show it, talk to the class. Do not overuse the visual aids. They're just there to emphasize something. Um, and be careful about passing the object around. Now, many times we say, okay, take this, give it to your friend, give it to your friend, pass it around. But what happens when you're doing that? Their attention goes. It's now on the object, or waiting for the object to get to them. So you're still trying to teach something, but they're now looking and saying, hey, my turn, my turn, my turn. So you've lost them. You've lost them. So try not to pass it around where possible, unless your lesson will have something for each of them to hold. Like, where was it? Was it Central Church there, Lusaka Central, I think, adventure camp, where we had popcorn, you know, the kernels, popcorn kernel, and we passed on to everybody to hold, to look at as the lesson was going on. Okay, fair and fine. There might have been a reason for that. But if it's just one item or two items and you wanted to go around the class, that can be troublesome, because their attention is going to go towards whatever it is that they're holding at that point in time. So don't lose them by giving them uh, that. Also, do not stand in front of the visual aid or make the visual aid visible for everybody. Make sure that it's large enough so that everybody will be able to see it. Don't have something that's so small. That's why with the popcorn kernel, I was like, you know what? I can't just hold it up and say, okay, you all see this? No, that not everyone's going to see it. But that one we had to pass around so that everybody can hold one, even though they might be able to envision in their minds, say, wait, I've seen where popcorn comes from, and things of that nature. Okay, so make sure that you have that present. Don't stand in front of your visual aid that it's blocking, because now they're all going trying to see around you, and it's just going to be chaotic. So when thinking about visual aid, remember things of that nature. So we said prepare the room. If you're using virtual, the way things have been going now, I don't know how things are right now in Zambia, if you're actually back to your churches. Out here, we're still meeting, though maybe in smaller groups, but we still gather together. But on your end, if you're using the virtual setup, what I would ask is, even still, prepare the room. Like you see behind me, I made sure that I'm at home on my couch. But instead of just having the bare couch in the background, I put up something that's colorful, so that as I'm teaching the kids, whatever is going to happen, there's something that's bright, and they're like, oh, you know, it looks alive. The room looks alive, even though I'm right at home. So even if you're at home and you're using a virtual setup, still prepare the room, prepare the background. Don't just have family pictures in the background that now the kids are busy trying to see, like, I said, Uncle, yeah, oh, look at that. That's just going to be disturbing. It can be playing there, or you can have your pictures posted up there, whatever it is that you're going to have, but prepare the room. If you're meeting physically, then you can do so much. There might be a theme for the month, so you can make sure that every Friday you've set up for, you know, that theme is there, or for the day. So you set up, you change whatever needs to be changed, but also your room is set up in a manner that you know exactly where everything that you need is, so that you also don't look blank, like, oh, where did I leave where did I put and then you're running around trying to figure that out. So prepare ahead of time. Friday afternoon, Sabbath early morning, go prepare the room, make sure that it is set for your children. Okay. We mentioned earlier that organize your materials ahead of time. I'm going to show you, I've got some felts here. I just haven't finished labeling so that I know. Okay, some of them are labeled. This one is women and girls. So once I need pictures of women and girls, I know that I come to this packet of felts. Um, okay, this one is labeled farm animals and different equipment. Farm animals, different equipment. So I have my stuff labeled and I know exactly which one I will need for that day, or as I'm teaching, I know exactly where I'm going to go to, because everything is labeled. I'm not sitting there and flipping through all these different felts and trying to figure out, okay, which one do I need? No, everything is set. You can even lay them down knowing my story is going to start here and I'll move here and this will be the next one. So you can lay them down, and as you're teaching there, you're just placing the felt on the board, on the flannel, and you're good to go. So let's get to some of the visual aids that might be there. Some of the visual aids might be as easy as, I mean, as simple as just having right there. You have your mirror. So as you're singing your songs, you know, who has come to Sabbath school? And then you have your mirror there that's being passed around. Everybody is looking at themselves, you know, children are smiling like, oh, it's me, it's me, it's me. Afterwards, you pack that away wherever in your basket or wherever you keep your visual aids. Be orderly, you know, have some nice container where you're keeping your stuff so that you always know when it's time for this, we come to this place. This is where we'll find this to help us in this song or that song. Let me move to some of my friends here, the puppets. I say my friends, people begin to wonder about me, but honestly, these guys have become good friends of mine. I've got Grandpa Harvey, who many of you would know, and some who have not seen him physically. Maybe you see the videos that are sent around every Friday for the kids, knowing that they're on lockdown. Try to send a video of a song and you know, a simple greeting, Sabbath greetings, that the kids on the Sabbath have a new song to learn and sing. And so there's the likes of Grandpa Harvey. Let me scooch over so that Grandpa has enough room. Now, puppets. Puppets are like so exciting. Kids, the funny thing is, it's not just kids, parents as well. Let me use this other hand. Parents as well love having these little guys around and love how it livens up and brings to life the lesson. I love using puppets because, number one, understand, children spend their days throughout the week. Maybe they're watching cartoons and things of that nature, and we don't really know what they're learning off of, you know, whatever we leave as a babysitter for them. Uh, so now when you come to church and there you are just reading from a book, and then Moses went down to the, it was like, so bored. I wish I was watching Tom and Jerry. I wish I was doing whatever. But then when you bring out a puppet, when you bring out all these visual aids and you're bringing the lesson to life, then you grab their attention. I did a service somewhere and found that what I taught 2 lessons and the puppets taught 3 lessons. The kids forgot what I taught, and what the puppets taught, it was right on the tip of their fingers. Asking questions. Oh, Uncle Ding, the puppets taught A, B, C, D. You taught, it was out. So I realized that they really pay attention and they grasp what's there. Now, normally when I use puppets, because I'm not a ventriloquist, and by that, you know, someone who is able to just keep their mouth closed, and the puppet is the one that's talking. I'm not good at that. I'm not able to really enunciate and bring out my words. So I normally like to be behind a stage, and the stage can be anything. It can be a chitenji, a cloth, a bed sheet. As long as I know the puppet is out there, it's looking at the children and is able to share whatever needs to be shared at that point. So it's a great way to bring out uh, the lesson for the kids to learn whatever principles, whatever thoughts that you may have. Because honestly, ministering to children can be a challenge. So you always want to have a way to counter, to grab their attention for that brief moment. I normally do not use the puppets like right throughout, because at some point, they might start getting rowdy. They'll try to come up and hold the puppet, whatever. But if it's virtual like this, not a problem. That's all right. But when in person, I also want to come out, say something, or with my partner, whoever I'm with, they will say something. The puppet will say something, preach, preach, preach. Grandpa Harvey will come and give a little, whatever it is, summary of what's happening. Another puppet will come out, they'll come and sing their songs. So I've got puppets that do different things. Some are just there to sing, some are there to speak. We've got some girls, some boys, we've got a grandpa. Now you can order your own puppets, you can choose what it is that you want, you can bring your lessons to life using the puppet and this ministry. Okay, so children do enjoy when the puppets come out, uh, and they can laugh, they can cry, they can, do whatever, jump around, but at the same time, they're actually grasping what is happening. So when you create a fun environment for learning, the children will respond. And I want you to understand that. Teachers, please take note of that. It just doesn't mean, sometimes we feel that when it comes to things of the Lord, then it's all, well, it's all serious and and focused. But when dealing with children, they need that fun environment. They need to be able to laugh around, and at the same time doing whatever task you have given them to do. That is always helpful. So learn to build that environment where children can laugh, but at the same time gain something, have a balance there. Okay. So puppets are a means of transmitting information. They are not the end in and of themselves. That's why I said I don't keep them throughout. I still come out because they're just something that is there to help bring out whatever information that is there. Now, sometimes some churches, I've heard some elders and this is where they're like, no, 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 no. This is not right. This is not right. These are idols. You're bringing idols into the church, and I don't think that is what we're supposed to be doing with our children. Or others will start to the whole African thing and start saying it's African magic, whatever. So many things that come out. But to be very honest, remember that Christ always used objects as well. This is just an object that we're using to bring out a point. And I think that's the same reason why we have the book Christ Object Lesson, Ellen G. White. It's just the visuals that are there to stimulate the mind and to keep the children going and to keep them also with you. Sometimes even when they're dozing off and nodding off and you bring this out, boom, you bring them right back. Okay, so even this can also help like shy children. Listen to this. There's some children who might be shy, but if you're to give them a puppet and put them behind, so involve them in this manner where they're behind the stage, behind that sheet, whatever it is that you've placed there. You'll find that once upon a time shy child will be able to manipulate the puppet from behind there, keeping their friends also happy, and they're like, wait, so I am able to do something. Look, in the simplest way, I've assisted in the Sabbath school class by using the puppet and singing a chorus, using the puppet in sharing a memory verse. Those 2 minutes will begin to help them realize that they can be part and parcel of the service. So that is another way of involving some children who maybe are kind of shy. So one of the things that we need to remember, why do we use visual aid? Now, 1% of the learning comes from the sense of taste. 1%. 1.5, sense of touch. 3.5 from the sense of smell. 11 from the sense of hearing, 11% from the sense of hearing, and 83% from the sense of sight. That's why we use visual aid as much as possible. Yes, there was a study that was done where they're looking at the different ways of learning, and they've come up with 8 ways the information is taken in. And knowing all that is very important, but understand just very simply that sight, touch, all those things, active learning, where children are involved in what's happening, that'll make a difference. So now when you're talking about a Bible story, let's say you want to talk about Jesus healing. Jesus healing. I've got my medical person here, okay? The surgeon, clearly, you can see that, with the shirt there written medic. So I could bring out this puppet as I'm beginning my story on Jesus healing, uh, any of the stories that we've heard of Jesus healing. Then we can bring out the medic and talk about the medical personnel and this and that. So the puppet will be busy there. Hello. This is a lady puppet. I made sure that the hair stays out so that the little girls can know that they too can, become doctors and nurses, and it's not a guy's job, not a man's job. So there we have it, and there they are, speaking, doing whatever. Okay, so there's the doctor. Or you yourself, if you don't have a puppet, you can probably go and find, just some toys that are there on the market. You can bring it and tell the children, okay, boys and girls, get maybe 1 or 2 volunteers to come out and pull out all your different equipment that's there. Like, okay, so here we have it. There you plan that you're listening to the heartbeat. You've got your ready to sweet. So there are so many different things that are there that can be used, and some of these are just toys that are there on the market. But when you bring them to the classroom, when you bring them to Sabbath school, then it just begins to light up. The blood pressure machine, there you have it. And there you begin to pump, and as you're pumping on this end, it's also changing. All right. So there are so many things that you're talking about. You're introducing the lesson about Jesus healing, and you begin with something that they would understand from today, because they've been to a hospital, they've seen doctors, and as you're bringing that to life, then you now get into the Bible and tell them about, there was somebody who did not need this, they did not need all these equipment, they were able to heal people. Boys and girls, do you know who that is? Jesus! And then you begin to share that particular story on how Jesus was able to heal this person. And at the end, maybe the puppet can come back out and also talk about, give a summary of that which you have shared. So yeah, there are things of that nature that you could be doing. I'm trying to see what else can I pull up here. There are also other items where, if you're talking about heaven and how we'll all wear a crown, you can always buy these crowns. Now I know in Zambia at the Chinese, what's that? The China Mall. The China Mall, you can find these crowns. We bought a bunch of these crowns during camp meeting, and you can put them together and have each child wear a crown, whether it's going to be it's out for class, whatever. But you can have that there for them, and it kind of brings it to life because they're seeing it, they're touching it, and look at it, it's golden, it's got all those beautiful jewels around, like, oh wow, I'm gonna wear a crown. And you sing a song that goes with that, and that just brings it to life. If you're talking about what the armor, the where the armor, Ephesians, that's from Ephesians. You can also buy these little things. You can have a little child wear it, or you yourself might want to put on whatever you can and start to bring your lesson to life by using all those different things. Now, this is definitely not going to fit my head. Or you can put it on a doll. If you've got a doll that's a little bigger, you can put all these things on the doll. If it's going to be one lesson or a couple of lessons, then every week you can add on a different armor. And maybe even as a homework, have them go and make the armor out of cardboard, cornflakes boxes, and show them how they would draw it out and then cut it out with the parent assisting them, because scissors are sharp, sharp, sharp. So, reminding them of things of that nature, but bringing each lesson to life with whatever it is that's there. So as you're talking about the shield, then you can just leave the shield there, and every now and again refer back to it. The breastplate, righteousness, and all those things are coming out using that visual aid that you have there. Excuse me, if you may take your seat there. Then the panel, as you're teaching, okay, actually this one, to be honest with you, this one is to teach on Ellen G. White. All the felts that you saw me holding up are actually Ellen G. White related felts, so that I can begin teaching children about Ellen G. White. Who says they should start learning about Ellen G. White when they're teenagers? They need to start understanding. We can teach our children anything, all our doctrines, but just at their level, in a way that they will understand. So for them to know about Ellen G. White, we have all these ones that are there. So as you're talking, you'll be pasting whatever it is. So boys and girls, this and that, this and that. You put the lady there, and you're sharing, and you're posting the people as you're talking about them. So always make sure that you have things that will be able to bring the lesson to life. Maybe even now and again, you can get volunteers to keep them quiet and tell them, those of you who are going to be silent as we're teaching, you can come and put up one picture. So as you're teaching, and you're going to talk about birds or whatever, then a child can come up and paste the bird where it's supposed to be. They can come and put a tree where it's supposed to be, and put fish in the water, things of that nature. So that will also keep them quiet, attentive, so that they can also be part and parcel of whatever is going to happen. Another thing that you can do, and that you should do, to bring your lessons out, bring them to life, is dress up. Dress up as a Bible character. Okay? Sometimes you can even be so dressed that the child will not even realize who it is. So they're thinking, that's Uncle Who, it's Uncle Who. And then they get so excited trying to figure out who is behind all the costume that is there. And there you're sharing the story. Let's look at one that made me laugh. A friend of mine, Peter and John went to pray. They met a lame man on their way. You know that song? Huh? He was leaping and jumping and praising God. The lame man that they met. So we had a friend who really, he acted so well. and he's acting out that story for the boys and girls. And there he is looking all lame and sitting there and he's begging. Then all of a sudden, he's healed in the name of Jesus, and he begins to jump and leap. And the boys and girls got so excited, and they never forgot that lesson because of the way it was acted out. The same Bible story. It's your choice. You could sit there with your massive Bible, say, well, when we read in the book of Acts, we see that Peter went to, the kids are just there, but the same story acted out. And the kids are all excited, seeing what you're doing, watching you, and they're like, oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. And it just brings it to life. Or let's say your lesson for that day is to teach the boys and girls that they are not typical. They are unique. They are special. Is that what? First Peter 2 verse 9, where it says that you are royal, you are chosen. Okay, you're special. You're not typical. So you're going through all this lesson, and then at the end of it all, you're like, but boys and girls, did you notice the shirt that I'm wearing that actually says not typical? Psalms 139 verse 14. So this whole time, your attire is actually part of the lesson. They may not have realized it. Some of them might have been reading, might seeing the numbers, but just didn't have a sense to think that maybe teacher is wearing the lesson. Okay, so we have all these nice church shirts that we wear, that we have with all these verses and everything. That day you figure out that, hey, that verse, I have it on a shirt. Let me wear it. So today I want to talk about not typical. You're unique. This verse, the one that says you're what? Fearfully and wonderfully made. God took time to make you. And so you're encouraging them. You're letting them know that they are unique. They are not like anybody else. And if they are different, if since they're unique, they need to be able to love themselves, because Jesus loves them as unique as they are. There are those who have low self-esteem. They don't like the fact that they've got big eyes, or that they're short. They don't like the fact that they're too tall for their age, and so many things that they don't like about themselves. But this day, you just want to show them that they are not typical. That's true. And so you wear your lesson. So the visual aids can come in so many different ways. I'm going to end now. I don't even know what time I was supposed to end. I have not checked what time I started, but allow me to just wrap it up in case there's a question or two. Let me wrap it up in this way. Be animated. Go the distance for the children. Dress up. Get your bed sheet and wrap yourself around it so that you're not just narrating the story of the disciples, but you're actually acting out the story. David and Goliath acted out. The crossing of the Red Sea, acted out. Do whatever it is that you can. Get them to join you. Okay, you'll be the children of Israel. Let's go, let's go. Can we get someone who will be Moses? Okay, I'll do it. Get them involved. Active learning helps them be part and parcel of what's happening. 2-3 minutes, they're acting it out. Like, okay, sit down. Now, boys and girls, from this part, do this and that. Yes, Uncle Caleb, be crazy. I just saw your message pop up there. I was sharing that with somebody, I think it was at in Zambia, in Livingston, a couple of Decembers ago, where we had that Congress, and I was sharing with the leaders who are coming into the puppet seminar. I was telling them that, look, honestly, you need to just have a tad bit, just a tad bit craziness. Otherwise, this doesn't work. Okay, you ask the Lord, like, just give me enough so that I can be able to reach the kids. You do that, you'll be amazed. You'll be amazed. Don't just sit there and have them sing and clap their hands right throughout. No, you're not helping them at all. You're not helping them at all. But as you're sharing the Bible, bring it to life. That's what I can share with you today. All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Pastor. It's true that it's not only the children that enjoy the visual aids. The adults also gets to enjoy the stories. Also to mention, and thank you for a response about the question on the visually impaired friends. To mention also that Brother Mukando also had typed a response saying that we have some audio stories like you mentioned. Yes. Thank you so much. I saw a question from Brother Caleb about where we can buy puppets. Anyone to help us with that? I know China Mall was mentioned as one of our valuable source or place to source some of the toys and other visual aids.
The response that has come there.
Is a response?
That in Lusaka.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much. Uncle Mungala, would you like to share a bit more details on the location, the actual location?
Well, I know there are some
Sorry, Uncle Mungala. The network seems to be failing.
My network is failing.
Yes. Would you type the response on the location where they are found? Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Okay.
Oh, sorry. Could I just mention this? That yes, sometimes the puppets might scare the younger ones, very very young ones. So what you can often do is make a sock puppet, right? Get a white sock, a black sock, put some buttons, bright buttons, or some that contrast with the color of the sock. You can get some wool, some yarn for the hair, and paste it on the sock, and just fold over here, and there you have a sock puppet. The tissue rolls that I was talking about, that little part that remains there, you can draw a face there and just be moving it back and forth, or from ice cream where you have the ice cream stick. There's so many ways of making puppets for the younger ones, but it will still grab their attention. If you want to buy puppets, another place with Brentwood, we bought from someone in South Africa, and he makes according to what you want. He can do a full suit, like a mascot suit. He can make a family, whatever it is that you ask him to make. He will do his best to make that for you. So I could send through Uncle Caleb. I could send the contact, the email address, and the website so that you can see and start to decide what you want. If the one in Lusaka doesn't give you what you want, there's also that other option. But since you have somebody right there in Lusaka, make use of that one.
All right. Thank you so much. We're sure learning a lot. I was also impressed to hear that even just the leaves that we have can be the visual aid for the day. It can be that simple. Very, very great. I think we can move to our next presenter. Thereafter, we'll have a short break before we move on. Next presenter is Brother Simolondo. GMVBS is called Ediga. Is going to help us with the art of Bible storytelling. So Uncle Simolondo, you have 30 minutes, which I think will take us up to about 9:50 at the most. Thank you so much.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for finding time to joining today. And one more time, great thanks to the organizers for according me this opportunity to be part of this program. Now, the first two presenters actually covered everything that I had to cover. So I'm not sure now how I should proceed. Okay, so I will try to share my screen. Yeah. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. So I'll be talking about the art of Bible storytelling. So what you see is the outline. I'll talk about my story, how I got involved in children ministries, and then the preparation for telling the story, the atmosphere, using your body and using your voice. So basically, this presentation is based on a series of blogs that were written in 2016 by Brian. So you can actually go to this site on the screen on the right, and you'll be able to get everything that I'm talking about. So I will start with my story. So ministries in around 2012, right there. So during that time, my involvement was in vocational Bible school, as well as camp meeting, and also in the children's choir. I was not the children's choir director, but I was involved in trying to organize the children, and also to see how we would manage the parents, as I mentioned yesterday. So at that time, I had very little experience and knowledge in this ministry, but I think it enabled us, even as a team, to learn and put in our very best. So what is very fascinating about children's ministries is that for me, what was very rewarding when I look back and see over the years what has happened is to see children being discipled to Christ, to see them actually grow, and you see character transformation. As I had mentioned to one of my friends at church, to say sometimes as you interact with these children, you see certain character traits, and then you even conclude that zone upper palinchito, there is work to be done. And then as you continue to minister, you see those children transforming into the likeness of Christ. That is very, very rewarding and very encouraging. Also, the materials, like Uncle Caleb shared, we have a lot of materials, and as you delve into these materials to study them and to actually implement what you are reading, you see the results. And sometimes you would be hesitant and a bit shy to implement them. Excuse me. But you find that as you really follow through, and as God equips you and inspires you, you find that you really want to put in the very best. So I've put in the 3 verses there. The first one is 1 Corinthians 15, verse 58, which says, "Therefore, my beloved brethren, be ye steadfast, unmovable, always abounding in the work of the Lord, for as much as ye know that your labor is not in vain in the Lord." So you need to be firm, you need to be focused, you need to continue working for the Lord, because clearly the promise is sure that your labor is not in vain. And everyone who has worked in ministry will see that indeed their labors were not in vain. Philippians 4 verse 13, I can do all things through Christ which strengtheneth me. So this one is a very powerful verse. Sometimes as you start, you may think that you may not do it well, but the promise is sure. Through Christ, we can do all things. And then 2 Corinthians 5 verse 14 says, "For the love of Christ constraineth us," or "for the love of Christ compels us." So he who has called us to this ministry, the love that we have for him actually compels us to go an extra mile to do God's work. So I will proceed to talk about the second part. The first part is preparation. So in preparation, a lot is involved in preparing to tell the Bible story. Now, even before we go there, the question is, why should we really take so much time to prepare? You see, the world out there has portrayed as though the Bible is very boring. And we do not want our children to take the Bible that way, because when they see what we have put in preparation and how fascinating and how nice the Bible stories are, they will not believe those who will propagate and tell them that the Bible is a boring book. It's a very powerful book which changes lives, and it has so many stories that all of us, including the children and adults, will actually enjoy. And not only enjoy, but it transforms our character. So in preparation, spend time with God in prayer so that the Holy Spirit can really guide you in your preparation, and also that you understand what you're going to present, and spend time in God's word. So this is a lifestyle of one who is a follower of Christ. You need to spend time in God's word, spend time with God in prayer, so that those 2, point number 1 and 2, are very cardinal and very important in preparation for telling the Bible stories. Read the Bible story several times. Now, that is very important, to read it aloud, and you can read it in several translations, and you can even listen to an audio version of the story that you are preparing. And you know, a lot of us in our walk with Christ, as we attend church, we have come across, in quotes, probably you may call them, maybe is it boring preachers. It's not really about the content, it's not really about the subject matter, but it was something that had to do of how the story was being told. The monotony, the lack of expression, and the lack of passion. So it is those things that really somehow put you, even as an adult, off. What more the child? So it has nothing to do with the content, but it has everything to do with how the story was being told, how passionate the preacher was. And those of the preachers that we love so much, there are those that are filled with energy, those that are filled with passion for the work. And they also have a sense of humor. They mix. It's God's word. These are serious things, but they will mix it with a sense of humor, and it makes the whole storytelling come alive. And it's as though you were there, even when the Bible was written many and many years ago. Now, we ended on, we looked at read the Bible story several times, and then know the story. Now, reading the story is different from knowing the story. Here, the point is that you need to read around the story, get the background, look at some good Bible commentaries, so that you have a lot of information so that you know the story. Because that knowledge of the story, its background and everything surrounding it will put you into the right perspective and context as you prepare to share the Bible story. Now, know the point of the story. That is point number 5. What's the point? What is God trying to communicate? What is it that we can learn about Jesus and about God in this story? So this requires us to spend time, again, to point number 1, spend time with God in prayer so that God can reveal the point of the story. Meditate and think through the story. And then the next point is finalize the story. It may be helpful to actually write a script about the story. Now, in this finalization of the story, you need to spend time writing it down and how is it flowing? Okay, is it flowing in a logical order? And then you need to stay close to the Bible story, to the Bible text as possible. It's always tempting to add or even subtract to the Bible text. And sometimes if you have watched some cartoons about these Bible stories, you find that they have added things that may not be actually written in the Bible. But the caution is that let's stay close as possible to the Bible text so that the word of God is not obscured in any way. And then read and record and listen to the story. You can read the story aloud, play it in your car, and then listen to the story how it is flowing. Now, this helps you to actually remember the whole story so that you can actually narrate it 1, 2, 3 in that order without you having to put a lot of effort in thinking. Yeah. So the story will come out from the heart. Now, the last part in preparation is memorize the story. Now, this requires a lot of work, and many of us are not prepared to memorize the story. But when you commit the story to memory, you will become the best storyteller that you want to become, as God purposes that you should become, because the story will be coming out from the heart. It will be effortless. So take time to memorize the story. Now, the question that you may be asking now from your mind is how possible is it to do all these things within 1 week? You are busy, you also have other work to do at the place of work and also at home, family, and so on. You have other responsibilities. How possible is this that you can do all these things within 1 week that you are preparing? So gather, the tip is that you need to gather this, the preparation starts way back before the week that you are preparing the story, and also you need to overlap such that the stories, the Bible stories, are at different stages in your preparation. So the word talks about multitasking. So even in Bible preparation, in the preparation of the Bible story, you need to multitask so that you have several stories in preparation and they are at different stages. You'll be amazed how much our brain can actually take. It's a very wonderful organ that God has given us, and we do not actually maximize it. But as we delve into these things, you'll find that with God on our side, we can do prepare very adequately for the Bible story. Now, the next thing is the issue of the atmosphere. I think the pastor touched this. You need to, the atmosphere, the room where you tell the story should be prepared well in advance, so that for the children and the audience to be that they are fully engaged. Yesterday we were looking at the word hooked. The children and the audience and everyone in attendance should be hooked to the story. Now, you need to develop in this in creating the atmosphere, you need to develop different storytelling styles. The reason is that children, and even us, even God himself is a God of variety. When you look at the species of everything that he created, the birds, there are different species. So children would love to see variety. And some stories work better with certain styles. So there are certain styles that are good for using puppets or flannel graphs, and others would require you to act them out, or you yourself to actually be the story, in that you will you will become actually the character of the story. So you need to develop different storytelling styles because of variety, and also the stories would work better with different styles that may be appropriate for that particular story. So the pastor already talked about use of puppets and flannel graphs. You can see the story of Noah being presented there. So you can have that, and then you can narrate the story of Noah to the children, and they will be immersed and they will be fully engaged. And then you need to have props and sound effects. So this is also important. For example, you want to tell the story of the prodigal son. So in the room, you could come with a backpack, you could come with some money after the father gave the prodigal son his inheritance. He had this bag of money, which you can provide in the room, and the children are able to see the money and the backpack, and then you can play even some music, happy music as he is going on his journey, and also some celebratory music, for example, when the father prepares the party for the prodigal son when he returns. And then you could have some pig sound. This can even be made by the children. As you tell the story, you get them involved so that they make some of these sounds. So spend time to prepare. We have seen a lot of aids that the pastor shared with us. So depending on the story, you can make these props and sounds, and then put them in the room and demonstrate to the children, and they will be fully engaged. Now, the other thing is dramatic conversation. So rather than talking about the characters, become the character. I remember in one of our vocational Bible school, we were talking about the story of Moses, and the kid did spell out how we should be dressing as teachers. So prepare a robe, come with a rod. Moses had a rod. So spend some time actually in investing in these things. And then as you narrate the story, they can actually see Moses in you. And that way the story will remain in their minds, okay? The other one is the Play-Doh or models. I've put a picture there. You can talk about how we are wonderfully made. You can talk about the digestive system and how it works. And they can use these Play-Doh to actually make an illustration of the digestive system. It could be the brain, or it could be a human being. It could be a building, whatever it is that fits the story that you are telling. We need to invest and have some of these in place so that the story comes alive. Now, the other point that we need to think about is to consider the story. Now, in considering the story, we need to spend time thinking about how best the story can be narrated. If you are narrating the story of the creation, for example, it may not be appropriate to play it out, but you may have some visual aids to look at what God created. If you're talking about the story of the lost coin, then you would think about having a coin there, having even your facial expressions where you show distress when that single coin was lost. So it is important to take time to consider the story. Now, get the most out of your space. So you need to also to have an understanding of where will the story be told. Will it be in church? Will it be in the room outside? Will it be under the tree? And then if you know the space, and then you can plan well to say, okay, if the story will be under a tree, then I can bring even some chairs. I can prepare even some, for example, you can put in the old setting, the storytelling was done and with some firewood, or you can bring a brazier, and then you can put stools around the brazier or the fireplace, and then you narrate the story. So the issue is that you need to get the most out of your space, understand where the story will be told and what is practical in that space. Also involve them. The children will be very happy to get involved. You can give them parts to narrate or to play out and to act out. So when they are fully involved, they will not forget that story because they will remember themselves in the story, and the Bible story will remain with them. The other point in preparation and in Bible story telling is using your body. Now, let's look at this statistic. 65% of the story is carried out by non-verbal means, okay? 65% non-verbal means, and only 35% of the meaning is conveyed by the words. So if you focus so much on the words, at best, you can only communicate up to 35%. So the 65% which you may not pay attention to, which is non-verbal, is actually key in conveying the story. So now in this using your body, there's the issue of posture. Now, most probably or most likely at many or on many occasions, you will be standing as you tell your story. This will be probably your default setting, but also you need to also think there will be a moment when sitting will have the desired effect. For example, you are telling the story about Jesus sitting at Jacob's well. So as you tell the story, the sitting effect, even when you were standing or when you were walking, telling that Jesus walked to Samaria with his disciples, and now where they sat, so you can sit, and that sitting will actually have the desired effect as you tell the story. I talked about the story chair, where you can arrange the sitting arrangement, and you can actually sit and tell the story while seated. So the posture has a significant role to play in the telling of the story. Also, the eye contact. Smile. So we all know the impact that smiles have. Just a smile will create the right atmosphere for the story. And make eye contact. Scan make eye contact with the children, and this making eye contact will ensure that the children will also look at you as you present the story. And then as you scan the room, it will just galvanize and bring the attention of the children to yourself, because you really want them, you don't want to lose them at any point. So smiling, making eye contact, and scanning the room, and ensuring that you are actually in check of everyone in attendance is very good in having the Bible story being presented in a more effective way. Movement. So generally, it is advised that you stay stationary, but when you move, you should move for a reason. Sometimes I have seen people presenting their story and where you move too much, you can lose the children. So every movement that you make should be for a reason. I gave the story of the lost coin. So as you make gestures, you need to show, even through your facial expressions, how distressed the woman was. And then when she was sweeping the room, trying to find that coin, so that movement of sweeping will actually catch the attention of the children. So generally be stationed, but when you make movements, do not just move, but move for a reason. Next is using your voice. So this is the last part. So sometimes with Bible storytelling, we think too much about the voice, and yet we have seen that the issues to do with your body and your gestures are very important. So the voice basics, the volume, you need to ensure that the last person in the room can hear you clearly. So the voice projection is very key. And then speak clearly. So make sure that your speech, you do not lose the children. They can get you clearly. And this is different from volume, but it has to do with the way you speak to ensure that you are heard. And also be natural. At the same time, your voice should have energy. The children should sense your vitality and your passion for the story. And then do not speak too quickly. Sometimes we may speak too quickly and we may lose the children. Let's take our time and speak in a manner that we will narrate the story such that the children will pick the story without losing out on some of these important points that you are trying to tell. And then use your voice as an instrument. So the voice, as we know, can convey emotions such as anger, such as happiness, such as sadness. So for example, when Adam and Eve came and they heard the voice of the Lord speaking in the garden, you need to convey word, and God asked, where are you? So as they respond one by one, even for example, at the beginning, when Eve sinned, was deceived by the snake, you need, the voice can project the hissing sound of the snake. So what we are saying is that you need to use your voice as an instrument to convey the emotions that may be in the story. For example, when the story of the prodigal son, when the son returned and the father was very happy to receive him, what your voice in that moment should show happiness. Also, at the point when the older brother was sad, was not happy that the party was made for the younger brother. So the father was sad when the older brother showed that kind of dislike for the younger son. So in your voice, you can project that sadness. Also, as the story proceeds, you need to change your pace. There are times when you need to speak a little bit fast. For example, when Mary Magdalene found that the tomb was empty, and she rushed and went to tell the disciples that the tomb is empty. So in those moments, you can actually change your pace as you speak, because the story also has a sense of urgency in those moments. And also, lastly, use your tone and contrast for emphasis. So the stories, as we narrate them, they have these valleys and mountains. They have some peaks and low moments. So we need to convey those. For example, the story of Nicodemus. He came to Jesus in the night, and because he feared, was he shouting when he asked when he was beginning to talk to Jesus? So it is understanding that story that you can actually use your voice to change the tone and to make various contrasts for emphasis, so that the story, so that the children or your audience gets fully engaged. My time is up. I was told to end at 9:50, so I'll stop here.
Wow. Thank you so much, Uncle Simolondo, for that story told to us. It was nice to follow through the presentation. I see one comment in the chat where we're being told or reminded that the teacher's edition actually has some resource that we can read in addition to the outlined story. Sometimes passages from some books, Spirit of Prophecy books, are added as well as extra material, which is one thing which you referred to about knowing our Bible stories. Thank you so much. Are there any other questions or comments? Let's make use of the chat box, even just to say thank you. I see somebody saying thank you. And just to encourage our presenters who are really doing a great job. Any questions or comments? Thank you. I see Auntie Betty saying even the fundamental beliefs are also a point of reference. Thank you so much.
Auntie Mlemba.
Yes, Auntie Betty.
Yeah. Thank you very much to Uncle Simolungu for the way he has brought out the storytelling, preparation, and all. Sometimes a challenge I see, I'm commenting on both the presentation by Pastor Mfone and Brother Simolungu. The challenge I see is sometimes the setting where we conduct our classes. Sometimes there are certain activities that as a teacher you would want to do, but the space is limiting. Sometimes we even have to lower our voices because there are other classes within the same room, and your movements are restricted because of the seating arrangement. I think we could explore as children in Sabbath school how best we can do the venue for the children's classes. I think it's quite limiting to an extent.
Indeed, very true. I actually had a similar thought that we really need to look into the children's chapel or infrastructure so that all these things are brought to life. Because if you look at the Gracelink curriculum, some of the classes actually are supposed to have their own officers' time. Just when they come to church, they're already going to their class and everything is done there, but the space is limited. But I'm not the leader. Uncle Fred Kanjelesa, are you with us? Would you want to comment further on the contribution from Auntie Betty? Uncle Fred, are you available to take that, or Miriam? Yes, please.
Okay. Yeah, sorry for the delay. Yeah, it's very true. That concern is there, and if you remember, even yesterday we discussed it. On our side, I think what we've tried to plan to do is to get some tents as a supplement to the current space that we have, because for those who have come to University Church, the building we are using is not so big for the number of children, and you find that there are a number of classes in one place. And what happens is that sometimes, because of the proximity, you find children who are in this class start focusing on what is happening in the next class. Yeah, because they can hear what is happening, and also they get distracted to some level. So that those are some of the issues, but it's very, very true. I think on the part of the church, if there are resources, I think a building which can accommodate a number of children with separate rooms would be a best option. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Sorry, I was still muted. Uncle Simolondo, are you comfortable? We can move to our next part, or you want to say something?
No, I think we can we can move to the next part. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much. I see our elder, my father, Elder Mata, has written something saying we can explore the idea of holding the classes outdoors, such as using the tents that Uncle Kanjelesa mentioned. There's a question which has come in, which I think can be answered quickly. It says, how can one use music? Uncle Simolondo, do you want to help us with that?
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, I think I gave an example of the story of the prodigal son. For example, when he returned to the father and they made a party, so some music that shows celebration can be used for such, and even the same story, as he went and he was spending the money and partying in all sorts of things. So some music can be played for those aspects. So, but again, music is a subject that is sometimes we need to think very carefully as we select what type to play for whatever occasion. Also, for example, there's some songs that make animal sounds, so we can use those. For example, we're talking about the creation or the birds and the like. So music that has those sounds can actually be played. Those are my thoughts.
Okay, thank you so much for the response. Now, as you were responding, I was thinking to myself, does it mean that the teacher will have to come with a radio or some music player? But anyway, something we can think about. Of course, I take note that the children could sing as well. Thank you so much. I think looking at our schedule and at the time we started, we are well on course. A bit delayed, but well on course. I would suggest that we take 5 minutes break. We can be back by say 10:04, so that by 10:05 our next presenter may start. So the break is just to really help us stretch a bit, maybe grab a glass of water, and then we come back. Thank you so much.
Tell me the old, old story of unseen things above, of Jesus and his glory, of Jesus and his love. Tell me the story simply as to a little child, for I am weak and weary and helpless, undefiled. Tell me the old, old story. Tell me the old, old story. Tell me the old, old story of Jesus and his love. Tell me the story slowly, that I may take it in, that wonderful redemption, God's remedy for sin. Tell me the story of them, for I forget so soon. The early dew
All right, welcome back. I hope the break did help. So we will move to our next presenters rather. Sister Esther and, okay, yes, I see them, they are present. So these are now going to take us into handling the kindergarten and primary classes through the Grace Link curriculum. So you will notice that now we're going into the specific classes, the Sabbath school classes for the children. I'm looking forward to learning. It's been an interesting workshop. Please let's welcome our dear sisters and mothers. Thank you. So they have 1 hour, 10 minutes, which will take us to about 11:20. Thank you so much.
Good morning, everyone. Most of the aspects that I'm going to talk about have already been talked about, unfortunately, by Pastor Mfune and the previous presenter. I'll delve right into the program. I'm talking about how to teach children's classes, that's kindergarten and cradle or beginner. So I'll just share my screen with you. So the title is Teaching Children Sabbath School Classes Using the Grace Link Curriculum. Introduction. Grace Link is a 12-year curriculum comprising 624 lessons, all of which are firmly grounded in Scripture. Most lessons are story-based, some on scriptural references that teach a particular doctrine. Each story has been selected to develop one of the 4 dynamics of the Grace Link series. The first one is grace, which is all about Jesus loving us. The second one is worship, which shows that we love each other. Third one is community, which shows that we love Jesus. And the fourth one is service, which shows that we love you too. Grace. This is a demonstration of God's love for us. He sent his son to come and die in our place, to redeem us and to accept us unto himself, that we might live with him forever. Worship. This is our response to God's love. Because he first loved us, we love him. Because he gave his son to die in our place, we worship him. We worship him through praise, through lifestyle, and through our stewardship of all that he has provided for us. Community. This involves our relationship with those around us, with our immediate family, our friends, and with other Christians who know God's love. The fourth one, service. This is our outreach to others, those who may not know and love the Jesus we serve. It is to them that we give the invitation to become a part of the family of God. It is to them that we take the message of hope for the future. Each lesson centers on a single message, and each telling of a Bible story is focused, not simply watered down. Usually, a story is revisited elsewhere in the curriculum with another point of focus. Only one teaching point is made at a time from a specific Bible story. Virtually every Adventist doctrine is taught at some point during the 12-year curriculum. Even very young children learn of baptism by immersion, the state of the dead, the Sabbath, and other essential doctrines. These lessons are reinforced through various activities during Sabbath school. I don't know, can I get some feedback? Are you able to see my screen? Am I clear enough?
We can hear you, but we can't see your screen, but we can see you.
You can't see my screen. Okay, let me try and share it with you so that you can see the screen. Is it any better?
Yes, now we can see the presentation.
Okay. Yeah, the lessons are reinforced through various activities. Okay. So each lesson centers on a single message, and each telling of the story is focused, not simply watered down. Usually a story is revisited elsewhere in the curriculum with another point of focus. Only one teaching point is made at a time from a specific Bible story. Virtually every Adventist doctrine is taught at some point during the 12-year curriculum. Even very young children learn of baptism by immersion, the state of the dead, the Sabbath, and other essential doctrines. These lessons are reinforced through various activities during Sabbath school. Grace Link materials are designed to introduce a lesson on Sabbath morning, so that the students will be interested and inspired to study that same lesson throughout the following week. I know that people do this differently, and it's done according to how it works for you. I know that sometimes the lessons are introduced by the parents at home as opposed to on Sabbath, so that by the time it's Sabbath, the children already know the lesson and are able to participate. Encourage the children to find opportunities to share activities from Sabbath school with their families during the week. Again, that is a lot of work for the parents to encourage the children to do so. Many parents are motivated to study the Sabbath school lesson with their children only if they think the child will need it to make a good showing at church, but it shouldn't be like that. More than any other age group, primary children enjoy checklists and competition. While you continue to challenge children to study because it is the best way to grow a relationship with God, you may choose to reward them with stickers each week for answering questions correctly. I know, because we're doing things virtually now, all you can do maybe is just tell them that you've won yourself a star, or just something to motivate them. Active programs. We must approach learning activities through a variety of methods. Now, children remember about 30 to 35% of what they hear, about 40 to 50% of what they see, and about 90% of what they do. So it's very important to involve the children, even as young as beginner class, in all these activities. The emphasis in wrestling is placed on all three. Children should be guided through activities that incorporate hearing, seeing, and doing, and require activity. Lots of activities for each lesson through the use of felts, as Pastor has talked about already, crafts, simple drawings, puppets, and so many other things. Today's Sabbath school classes often nurture an exuberant atmosphere in which children actively pursue learning under the direction of teacher. These activities are reinforced through a debriefing process in which children are led to consider: what did you learn? How did you feel about it? What are you going to do about it? And this process deals with knowledge, emotion, and application. The educational process tells us that people remember more when they are emotionally involved, and the pleasant emotions enhance positive learning. Debriefing is essential to active learning. It is the means by which children understand and apply what they have learned. Activities that help the learning process. Various activities can be used, especially in the doing process of the learning activity. This is more so for the little ones, especially the beginner. They learn a lot with hands-on things, where they're involved in doing a craft, even though it's mommy doing it or daddy, but they're also involved in one or the other. The activity undertaken depends on the age group of the learners. The use of felt, especially for beginner or federal and kindergarten classes, is very beneficial to the children. Coloring activities and the use of practicing or Play-Doh to depict lessons learned would benefit learners up to primary classes. The use of simple crafts that involve children's participation in the making process is highly recommended to aid learning process. Podcasts are also available and children enjoy them immensely. They look forward to watching these videos. This calls for a lot of prior preparation and creativity on the part of the teacher or leader. It may look like it's too much, but I think at the beginning of the year, it would be great if the teacher would have a list of all the materials that the children will be using for crafts, especially now that we're using Zoom. If the teacher can be very organized, proactive, have a list of all the crafts that will be done in the year, and then ask the parents to provide the things that will be needed for the crafts. These will be purchased by the parents, of course, and kept in their homes, so that every Sabbath, the teacher will give a specific craft to be done, and also the things that will be needed to make that craft. So if all the parents are also doing that, the teacher is proactive and has already done the list, and parents have bought for their children, it will be so much easier to do the crafts, because everyone will have all these things that you need for making the craft. Of course, the teacher will be doing the craft as the parents are following. Then send the lesson to the parents on the WhatsApp group a week or some days before the Sabbath. Also send the requirements or exact materials for the crafts to be done as well, so that these are made available on the coming Sabbath. Sabbath, the lesson usually begins with a prayer. Then children will sing 4 or 5 songs or even more. The singing is most effective when the children are singing along to a video where they are following the actions as well. The children learn a lot by doing, as opposed to just watching what is being done. Let them also get involved in the doing of the singing by following the gestures that are being done in the song. The story is effectively delivered with the help of thoughts or puppets of pictures or using the videos available on GraceLink. The delivery of the lessons needs to be varied so that it does not become boring for the children. It's not like every Sabbath the children look at the same teacher delivering the lesson or the story. Let parents alternate. Maybe the teacher could do up a timetable so that we have different parents getting involved in telling the story, and also how it is delivered. Let it be varied. If this Sabbath they're watching a podcast from GraceLink, next Sabbath they could do maybe a story. They could do a story where they are dressed up. Everyone is dressed up. Of course, the parents will be told in good time. Where maybe you dress up for the story, for olden days, where they could put a cloth on the head with the scarf to show the dressing of those days. The teacher is dressed like that. The children are dressed like that. Even the parents are dressed like that. Then the story is being told like that. It will be more interesting for the children. So let's try very hard to vary. We need to be creative. Of course, we need to vary the way we deliver the lessons. Teacher, children, and parents can dress up for the story, as I've said, if it depicts olden days, to make it more interesting. After the story, ask children questions to determine their level of comprehension. Of course, we must praise them for the correct answer given and reward them accordingly. Demonstrate how to make the craft, that is, the teacher does that slowly while the children and parents are following what is being done. They can begin to make their craft as well, following step by step with the teacher. When teacher does the paint coloring, let the mother also hold the baby's hand if it's a beginner. But for the kindergarten, I know they'll be able to color and they really enjoy this. When the teacher is cutting, let the mummies or the daddies help the children at home to do the cutting as well. For example, I think a few Sabbaths in Jerusalem, there was a craft there where parents or the children had to color maybe a card paper, 2 or 3 of them, color it green or color the 2 papers green. And then after coloring them green, you have the mother or the parent will help the child to make an outline of a leaf and which will be cut out. There will be 2 leaves cut out, and then another green paper that has been colored will be folded, will be rolled. It will be rolled up and then pasted to the paper. I made one. That's the one. We have the outline of the leaf that was drawn, and this side we have another one. And this paper in the middle goes all the way up to there. Before I pasted the 2 leaves together, I had to paste this roll to one leaf. Then using glue stick, so all these things have to be available on the day, the Sabbath before the lesson, so that everyone has everything they need to use. So you paste them, and this is used for praising Jesus and just showing happiness and waving the leaves as the Lord is passing. Maybe you could even have a child. The teacher could be acting as a donkey and a child on the back, and they're putting these leaves on the floor, green garments, but at least everyone will have a leaf like that to wave as Jesus is passing and going into Jerusalem. So this was a very simple craft that was done. I did this just this morning, and when every mother or parent is adequately prepared with the requirements, it's much more interesting. So you don't have a situation where children are not doing. Again, for this one, you could even use as an activity later, you could use plasticine or Play-Doh. Children could use that as ask them to make a donkey, ask them to make Jesus, like make a donkey, with Jesus sitting on a donkey. They have so much fun as the parents are watching what the children are doing. Kindergarten will be able to do this, but for babies, maybe the mummies will have to do for them. So demonstrate how to make the craft slowly while the children and parents are following what is being done. They're doing this from home because we're doing things virtually now. They can begin to make their craft following step by step with the teacher. Connect the story to the craft and remind the parents to memorize the verse with the children. And it would be even nice if the way the leaf was done, mommy can actually write the memory verse somewhere there on the leaf, so that every time the child has the leaf, you can remember to read it to the child, and it will help the child to memorize. This will not be put away and stuck away or hidden away. The whole week, this should be visible to the child. Once they pick it, remind them of the memory verse. They pick this, remind them of the memory verse. Ask them to retell what the story was when they did the craft. It would be a very nice way of revising the lesson during the week, so that children will have this in their memory. So after connecting the story to the craft and reminding the parents to memorize the verse of the children during the week, then you sing 2 or 3 more songs, then you close in prayer. That is a simple program on the Sabbath for federal and kinder. Of course, for federal, when you are dealing with pictures and puppets and everything that you use for helping you tell the story, let them be big and in bold colors, because children really will be attentive. I know that your baby class, beginner class, the attention span is really short. It's not as much as the kinder. Also, the attention span for primary children is much more than the kinder, just like that. The younger the child, the shorter the attention span. So you don't want to bore the children by telling a story for 20 minutes, because they really, I'm getting feedback. Yes, so the children do switch off. The story is too long and it becomes boring for them. So what we could do is have pictures. I'm getting feedback.
Okay, the mic has been muted now.
Okay, so when you are dealing with federal or beginner, use bigger pictures. I don't know whether you can see what I have on the back, on the wall behind me. There's a big ladybird there. These kind of pictures can be used for baby class. Have these to show, maybe if you're doing a story about Noah and the ark, you have 2 large ladybirds like that. One child can have one, another one. They went into the ark 2 by 2. You could have big pictures of bees. The bees went into the ark as well. You could have 2 big pictures of bees, of course, painted black and white, depicting the real life insect. You can have a picture of iguanas, pictures of rabbits, pictures of lions. Whatever you do, make them large and really colorful. So children really enjoy that. They'll really pay attention and they'll be participating in that. The story shouldn't be too long. Children will be so bored and they'll end up crying. And you don't want a class like that. So what we do is, for a baby class, after the short story, using so many helps, puppets, as Pastor Mfune said, puppets or felt, or even just simple soft toys, that is an octopus. It went into the ark as well. We have a lion there. This lion went into the ark. Of course, there were 2 lions that went into the ark. There were 2 of these that went into the ark. We have snakes or worms. They all went into the ark. So you could have two of these. These are very cheap. You can buy them from Saraula Bells. Very, very cheap, and you have a lively lesson where everyone is participating because they have these toys with them. Zebras, you have one child with a zebra, another child with a zebra, saying that is the ark, and each child will be walking towards the ark together with the animals to show that they are in the story and they are understanding what is being taught. There's a pig there, you have 2 of them, 2 pigs went into the ark and so on as you sing your song. So for baby class, it's more visual, more activity based and involve the children so that they're not left out or they don't feel bored. When the child is not totally involved, they are not motivated to learn, and so you have a wasted lesson there. For kindergarten, so many activities available also. They could also use the same kind of toys. Kindergarten will use the same ones. You see the story of Noah. Also, there's the chickens. There was the mommy chicken and the daddy chicken. They all went into the ark. You are singing your song. Kindergarten also could do work using plasticine. They could get plasticine each, a ball each like that, and you ask them, children, can you try and make 1 animal, or you can even make 2, 1 animal or 2 animals that went into the ark using plasticine. Their own mind, they'll do something and they'll tell you this is a rabbit, and take it like that. It's a rabbit, because the child knows that a rabbit is one of the animals that went into the ark. So plasticine is very useful, especially for the older children in kindergarten. You could have pictures like that. It's the story of Noah again. You have a picture like that where children will be required to color in. And for children coloring in, please try to help them use wax crayons and not pencil crayons. Wax crayons will be very good for them, these large ones, so that they can be able to hold them properly as opposed to the pencil crayons. So using wax crayon, they can color the ark. I mean, this will be colored brown, of course, and the water is blue at the bottom there. You have all those animals in the ark. They could color in. This is a very simple activity. Of course, GraceLink gives us the activities that can be done during the week. But if by any chance the things that the requirements from GraceLink are not easily available in our setting, let's go to YouTube or Pinterest to check for other crafts that we can easily do in our setting. So they all cannot be lost because we don't have the requirements for GraceLink. There's so many other options that we have. So after singing the 2 or 3 more songs, they close in prayer. The format of the program can be altered to suit a particular group, but the most important point to note is to prepare adequately for the lesson and to make it very exciting and interesting for the children. The onus is really greatly on the teachers or the leaders. Prior preparation, very, very important. Elder Mfune has also alluded to that. Have everything in place before you begin your lesson. Everything should be available in front of you. And as he said, have a very exciting background for the children. I've tried to do something there. I saw that Pastor Mfune had a colorful quilt on the chair there on the sofa with all his puppets. Just have a very lively atmosphere for the children, even if they are watching you from their laptops and from their computers. Everything should be lively. The teacher has to be very proactive and have all these things ready. The parents have got their lesson a week before. They've got the requirements for the craft a week before. The day for the making of the craft on the Sabbath, everything is available. So the teacher is doing the craft. The parents are following from home with their children. I don't have much time to do crafts because I am sharing my time with Sister Claire, my young sister. So we will have to just share the time and do a bit of this and that. So for now, I think that's what I can say about the helps for teaching. If the requirements for a particular craft are not easily available in our setting, use YouTube or Pinterest and look for similar crafts that can be used for your lesson. Thank you, and God bless. That was my short presentation.
Thank you so
Any
much.
questions?
I haven't seen any questions in the chat, so if there's a question, please we may ask. I just have a comment on your presentation. Thank you so much. I happened to start teaching in Sabbath school, children's Sabbath school with the beginner class, I think somewhere in 2011. It was interesting to note how sometimes the mothers really wanted the coloring to be so perfect that they took over completely and did not allow the baby, who at that time would be able to hold the crayon because the baby would color outside. But I like what you said, that the child must be involved. Yes, mommy may color along, but they should let the child at least even hold the crayon for a bit. Thank you.
Okay. The children need to be allowed to color. Even if it doesn't look nice, it's still their work and it's their lesson, it's their class. It would be nice, even if it's all mumbo jumbled, and as long as the child is the one that has done it. You can even frame it for them in their bed, put it in their bedroom to make it look lovely. The children will be very proud of themselves. Mummies can help, maybe cradle roll, but not so much. When the child is able, as long as the child is able to hold a wax crayon, let them do on their own. Don't try and make it nice for them. Then it doesn't belong to the child. It belongs to mommy.
Indeed. And I see Uncle Caleb has said in beginner, all parents are teachers. And just again to emphasize what was said yesterday, that some parents would opt to take their children along with them to their adults class, but it would be nice to have all parents sitting with their babies. The Lord still speaks to them as well, even as he speaks to the child. Thank you so much. I see people are appreciating the presentation. Indeed, thank you so much. Are there any other comments or questions? As we transition to our next presenter, there is an announcement which has been posted in our chat group where our leader is asking for some details. Please do take time to read through the requested details and send them. I would prefer we send to his WhatsApp number, which has been shared as well. Not too conversant with this technology, whether the chat is also saved, but I think for easy management, let's WhatsApp the details to our leader, Elder Kanjelesa. Thank you so much. We will move to our next presenter.
Good morning, everybody. The previous presenters have made my job very easy today. There's lots of things that they've mentioned that I will gloss over, but they're in the presentation, as you can see. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Thank you. So you can see the typical class before COVID times. And this is a child sticking up her heart during class. She's using felts, and you can see her friends are looking on. There's a little girl walking away. Everybody's getting a chance to take part in class. That's just a brief outline of my presentation. There's an introduction, and we'll talk about the GraceLink curriculum for primary class. I'll also touch on some other resources can be used to liven the class. And then I'll just talk a bit about how we have managed class during COVID times. There's some challenges that were faced, and there's some suggested solutions. Then I'll conclude. In introduction, the primary class is made up of children aged 5 to 9 years old. When you look at the age stratifications for the children's divisions, kindergarten is, I think, 3 to 5. And then they say primary is 6 to 9. Our 5-year-olds don't go on break. They are in primary class. So in terms of age groupings, the primary class is the largest because it takes up children from 5 to 9 years old. As my sister previously mentioned, the GraceLink lessons are firmly grounded in scripture, and most of the lessons are story-based with scriptural references that teach a specific doctrine. Sister Esther mentioned that there are 4 dynamics that are looked at in the GraceLink curriculum, these being grace, worship, community, and service. And each lesson, like we said before, is it has a single message, and we try not to crowd too many lessons into one class. For example, last Sabbath, we were looking at Dead or Alive. This is where Jesus raises up Jairus' daughter. As Jesus was going to Jairus' house, he was touched by the woman with the issue of blood. We didn't want to put all of that into the lesson, so it was just briefly mentioned. What was emphasized was the fact that Jesus raised Jairus' daughter. Like the next point mentions, this other lesson will be revisited in a later class. The GraceLink curriculum is a thematic curriculum, and it will have one theme or one teaching point to make it easier for the children to learn and not to overcrowd them with so much knowledge. Every lesson is also supported by writings from Sister White. There's a reference from the Conflict of Ages, Steps to Christ, Thoughts from the Mount of Blessing, Christ Object Lessons. All these are referenced. You'll find that this is mostly in the teacher's enrichment, but some of it is also seen as small quotations. They won't be those big adult quotations. It will be easier for the children to understand, but it is present in both, more so in the teachers section. So I'll also just briefly go through the curriculum. This will be in relation to our primary class. So as mentioned before, we have 4 dynamics to this curriculum. There's the where children are taught Jesus loves me. In worship, children are taught I love Jesus in all that I do. As I sing, as I am playing with my friends, as I relate to a stranger on the road. And we love each other. So it's not just what you do in your home, but even out there, you need to show that you love God in how you relate to others as well. And in service, Jesus loves you too. So all these 4 dynamics are in combination total Christian faith learning. And we want our children to have all this as part of their teaching. So to begin with, in worship, when we teach our children that I love Jesus, we want our children to know the joy of worshiping God in their families, in Sabbath school, during the church service. They should know that I love Jesus and this is how I love Jesus. In their relationships, in their family, at school, everywhere, all the people that they encounter, they should portray that they love Jesus in these ways. All our children's activities must be open to the leading of God. And when you look at the Bible lessons, we don't want to put them in King James Version because we want our children to understand. It's simplified for them to be able to learn it and to also teach, because we want them to go and testify when they leave class. They will tell their neighbors, they will tell their friends. They need to at least understand what we are teaching. What are the most important things that we can teach our children about God? We want to teach them about Jesus. We want them to know how to pray. We want to teach them that there is a world that is coming that they need to be prepared for. We need to spark a flame in them that they must want to worship. Worship is caused by love. It functions through love, and it responds from that first love that God gave us. So we don't want them to just parrot out certain things. We want them to understand it. We want them to live it. We want them to respond to God's great love. And that's what, like the last point says, that's what we want from our children. Our second dynamic is community. We want our children to love each other. We want to create a genuine community of faith in which our children's Christian experience can fully develop. We want them to be able, when they're with their parents, we want them to accept all other people. We don't want them to judge others. We want them to be empathetic. We want them to be forgiving. We want them to understand what to forgive is. We want our children involved in their spirit. We want our children to be involved in their spiritual life at home as well as at church. And our church actively challenges children. You know, ages 5 to 9, these children are in school. So they come across prejudices. They come across racism, gender, and other ethnic imbalances in life. And they want to talk about it. They want to talk about it in class. They want you to explain certain things for them. They want you to at least bring it out to them. Okay. Children are also encouraged to explore their own faith through creativity. They need to have thought-provoking programs and services. So the curriculum isn't just them sitting in class and listening to a teacher in front. It's about them being able to reenact what they learn. And this can be through you giving them scripts or asking them to lead in class. So when you do this, the child will want to be prepared, because children are always afraid their friends will laugh at them. So they want to at least know what they're going to talk about. So they want to be able to express themselves and portray themselves as someone who knows and who will be able to testify to others. In our third dynamic, we look at service, where Jesus loves you too. So we want our children to experience the profound joy that comes from being of service to others. We teach children, especially when we're doing later on, you'll note in the readiness activity, we give children scenarios and we ask them how they will be able to deal with certain things or how they can help. So a few suggestions that you can use or relate to our own setup. This is a plan that has been thought of at Brentwood, and our class is in the process of trying to do this. You can ask children to donate canned food or dry goods to the church pantry. Whenever we have our needy coming up at the service, after the service, we can go to our pantry and say, our children donated this for you. This is them serving God, and children are so fulfilled by things like this. We have the elderly, we have widows, the lonely at church. Our children can decide to adopt one of them, and that day will make a birthday card or a get well soon card, and all this is helping them learn how to serve. We can't do this now, but our children are always talking about how they want to help others. And the biggest thing on their list is visiting orphanages, because it hurts them to know that there are children out there who may not have parents, or they have parents who are unable to look after them and they're in orphanages. So they want to be there with them and for them. We've got the Mother Teresa home to name one, and children would be able to serve by just going there and being with people. You know, it lightens people's spirits to have children coming to visit them, to sing, to just be with them. So even helping the elderly with gardening or simple chores like shopping. Our 11-year-old recently went to a supermarket on his own, and he was so proud of himself. It's very close, it's near to our block of flats, so at least he didn't have to cross a major road at all. But these are things that we need to instill in our kids, and this is a form of service. Our children would like to donate their clothes and toys, but then they can also hold a garage sale where people will come to them, and it's like they're taking part in helping out. They'll come up with an amount of money and they'll be able to give it to a worthy cause. These are just a few suggestions. The last dynamic in the curriculum is grace. This is a demonstration of God's love for us. And he sent his son to die for us in our place, to redeem us and to accept us unto himself, that we might live with him forevermore. In the curriculum, there are several scenarios. I noticed that a lot of these scenarios are taken from the Advent Herald, where you sit and try and explain to children how it is that each child is different. Pastor Ding was talking about how certain children don't like how they look, maybe because they've got big eyes, or maybe their ears are a bit different, or they have kinky hair and all. But there are so many scenarios that help teach children to know that God loves them as they are, and he loves them because they're different. So I'll next look at how we do the Sabbath program. Like Sister Esther talked about, the lesson can be taught in different ways. And what's been working for us is when we introduce the lesson on the Sabbath. So if you look at the study guide, it has the Bible lesson, especially for the children. It has the Bible story, and then it has an activity every day. And on the Sabbath, the teacher has a themed program for that Sabbath that sort of consolidates everything that the child has been doing the whole week. So for those children who read their lesson every day starting the Sabbath, it works really well for them because it's like just them memorizing. And then for those children who are unable to do their lesson, at least the themed program allows them to get something very conclusive. It's not as much as the ones who have been doing it every day, but I think there are a lot of takeaway points from it. On the Sabbath day, there's songs, there's prayers, and in the lesson, there's a message, there's points that the child help worship. We make to that grace, or how that grace empowers our loving relationship with one another and our service to a world of God's love created and sustained for us. So theoretically, this lesson is supposed to take an hour. I'll mention later about the challenges that come up with this total hour teaching. The entire Sabbath time is complete, and there's a cycle that, that goes on, and it leads to the teaching and reinforcing of the point or the message that is in that particular class. It's difficult to break down the time for each part of the program because they're leading into each other. I know when we have adult Sabbath school, we'll say, no, the mission story is 5 minutes. We'll have the discussion for about 10 to 15 minutes. It's very difficult for our hour to be timed, but all our parts move together. These 4 segments each appeal strongly to specific learning style and the prayer and praise section. And this sequence follows a pattern that will cater to how our children learn best. So you find that it answers a number of questions. It answers the why, it answers the what, it answers the how, and the what if. And it helps our child glue together all the parts that is the lesson. So the different aspects of our cycle are the readiness activity, which deals with feeling. You want to open up, you want to plant that seed. And then there's the experiencing the Bible lesson. Now you water that seed. Then you apply the message. Our little plant is germinating, and you practice. So our child is going to be a fully grown plant each and every class because of all these parts of our cycle. So when we look at the readiness activities, currently with us being doing classes virtually, we try to find a way of doing this. Though when we look at our teacher's guide, it's a bit difficult to do it physically. You know, children are tactile. They want to be part of the lesson. They want to stand up. And even when you are trying to teach them something, you want to keep them enthralled. For example, when we had a lesson on Jacob and Esau, a thief in the family last year. Our readiness activity was having a child hold a fruit or an object in their hand and trying to guess it with a blindfold on. It's very difficult virtually, but in class, this is something that you should encourage. And you should also try and see if you can work with what you have. It doesn't really have to be a piece of fruit, something that is affordable, something that at least the child can easily understand. Then after that, you discuss, you debrief that session with questions, and you want to know, you want to prompt the discussion, but then you also want the children to tell you what they're feeling from what they've just gone through. So it will answer the why. So you invite children to reflect, you invite children to interpret, to ask, what does this mean? And you ask children to apply this part of the lesson. So once your child has felt what what is going to happen next. Then you can bring in the Bible story, the what. So what do they need to learn? You don't want to make it traditional all the time. Like Pastor Ding was talking about, make it interesting. As Moses was leaving Egypt, you can be Moses, or you can pick a Moses, and you can narrate the story, and you ask the children to trek through the desert, and then as they reach the Red Sea. So make it interactive, but don't put too much into it. Keep them interested. So the teacher's guide has not for all the lessons, but there are certain classes where they will give signing, which helps the children. So when you as the narrator say God, they'll point up in the air and as if pointing to the Lord. Or there'll be a certain theme, or if you're talking about a story that has animals, like Sister Esther was talking about, where there's the Noah's Ark. Every time you mention an animal, like a cow, children will moo. Or if there's a goat, they'll baa. Or if there's a chicken, you'll have children clucking, like they're taking part. And that will also allow you to understand if they're part of your lesson. Because if you mention the chicken and your children do not cluck, you know they're not part of it. So you need to at least keep them enthralled. Always emphasize the memory verse. It allows them to memorize these verses, such that when later on, when you might even have forgotten it, or you're not you're not even thinking about it, and your child will come and say, no, that memory verse when you were teaching us this. Sorry about that. So the third part is applying the message. It answers the how. So you need to keep your children part of the lesson. So now you need to do another debrief where you ask them, how does this apply to your life? How am I going to use this in my life? If I come across this challenge, what did I learn from my lesson? So the student is able to discuss the situation and need to, they're able to apply these principles that they learn from their lesson. The fourth part is sharing the message. So here the question answered is, this segment deals with our children coping with newly learned concepts on how to bless others. Like I said before, this lesson isn't just for them, they're sharing it. They're going to go and testify to their friends at school. They're going to talk to their friend as they're playing outside. So they learn to apply all these to their real life activities. And this is very good because we have a number of our children's friends who come to Brentwood because our children shared what they learned. And some may be non-Adventist, some may be Adventist. This is their evangelism. Sometimes they will practice sharing of skills. Sometimes this will make something to help for sharing, like a poster. Our children have crafts associated with their lessons. they learn to make things like posters, or they make prayer cards or gift cards, and all this is part of them sharing what they learned. Our 1 hour, sorry about the noise. Our 1 hour class time involves prayer and praise during this whole class time. And we try to involve our children. That opening prayer, we ask one child to do it. In our class currently, children clamor. You have 5, 6 children asking, I want to pray, I want to pray. So we have agreed that we'll have 2 children praying at the beginning and 2 children praying at the end, so that we don't have any sad faces. We don't want moods to change, because that affects how they will learn the whole time. So we try to incorporate the mission story, and we always ensure that offering is the offering plate is given out during the lesson. We can't halt everything and say, no, let's do the offering. That will take up a lot of our time. We try to bring in as many songs as possible to liven up, as well as push certain messages across. So the song service is very, very important. And we actually ask our children, we have a lot of musicians in our classes. Our children want to sing. So we ask them, so what song comes to mind when you look at what we've been learning? We have, when Jesus was preaching by the lake, so children want, no, I want to be a fisher of men. So they'll want to sing it. And we want to ensure that they sing it and remember that lesson that they have learned. Make Sabbath School come alive with GraceLink. Our children, there's so many things that can be applied. And we need to get them involved in the different activities that are part of the class. It's not like them going to school and Sister Mukando is at the board writing 1 + 1 is equal to 2. We want a child to get up and say, I want to write the answer, or I want to tell the story. No, I understand this from my lesson. We are so blessed by these little people. They come up with their different perspectives of how they understand what we teach them and how they want to go out and teach others. In terms of other resources, Uncle Caleb, Pastor Ding, Auntie Esther have gone to town about how we can liven our classes, and these are just a few of the resources where we can find ways of learning how to do certain crafts, videos added to the class to keep our children involved and enthralled. And then now that we're doing class virtually, you can actually make a PowerPoint with pictures and slides that help bring forth the message. Um, the last part here, the Drive to Point, is just a free app that allows us to find different PowerPoint templates that are lively and help teach our children our lesson. Sister Lugano and Brother Mukando yesterday talked about ICT, so I won't really say much on this part. Just that now that we are in COVID times, there are certain tips and tricks that we must employ to allow for ease of giving virtual lessons. Sorry. Sorry, we're trying to get the children out of the house as I give my presentation. So when you start your virtual classes, it's very important to give ground rules as you do your class. You ask your children, you give them a plan for the class. You can do this by sharing a document on your screen, or you can do a PowerPoint slide at the beginning of the class, and it will at least give an outline etiquette of how the class will be done. Children will not speak over the teacher when she's either giving the lesson, or they can put up their hand, they can wave at their screen. So it's very important. And I think our children really like this when their screen is on, they can see themselves, they can see you, they can see their friends. But then at times that can also be distracting. But you ask them to keep quiet during certain times. And then there are times when you tell them, no, now you can put your mics on. They can say hi to each other, they can ask questions. So instead of having a little tower of Babel, at least have them understand that there are certain parts of the lesson where they can stay quiet, but make sure that they're not too long, because we've already been told that their attention span is low. So we don't want to get them bored or tired. You can preset the participants to mute as they join the class, so that at least when students join in a little late, they won't disturb their friends. But always on that WhatsApp group that's created for the parents, ask parents for children to join in early. Always emphasize that point. In fact, Sabbath morning, I do it around 6 in the morning. I ask parents, please, classes at 9, children can join in at 8:50. That 10 minutes, they can be unmuted, you can say hi to each other, but at least have children join early. You know, I've had children who have been so upset when they join in and they've missed the lesson, and then you're at the craft and they feel left out behind. So as parents, we should always emphasize to our fellow parents that we're cheating our children by giving them half the class. They want to be part of all the class. And I think it's our biggest job. They should be there early. So have the video on, speak to the camera so that they can see your whole face, be animated, big bright face. You're dealing with children, they can sense your mood. And at the end, or at particular periods, embrace the pause, give them a chance to express themselves. There are 4 different parts of your lesson. There's always a time at the end for you to ask, what did you get from that? So do you have anything to say about it? And they will definitely answer questions. They will want to contribute. They will tell you, I went through this. So we've faced a number of challenges as Brentwood doing our class. So before COVID times, if you visited us, the primary class is set up in the foyer, because inside class we have kindergarten, we have cradle roll, we have PowerPointers and Cornerstone. So we have been given the foyer, which is a small cramped place where everybody walks through. Make a space where your children are comfortable, your children are able to at least do their class without saying, no, this one elbowed me, no, I can't see. The environment is everything. In terms of resources, I was very happy when my sister mentioned that we can ask parents to donate or contribute either physical things or money. So we had suggested as a class that our parents contribute 20 kwacha every month, just 20 kwacha. Currently we have 71 children in primary class. Last year we had 58. So that's how our class is growing. Now, but imagine 20 kwacha from each of those families. I know there are several children from one family, but 20 kwacha from each of those families will be able to buy so many different things that will help our class work better. Like I said, one of our challenges was our numbers. So the number of children ratio to teachers should be at least 2 teachers in a group of 20 children. In a group of 20 children. We currently, this year, have 8 teachers, which is such a big thing for us. And that means our council is listening to our plight. I mentioned that our class is 1 hour. When we go to church, physical church, we are not given 1 hour. And we try to cram so many things into that 1 hour or less. In terms of study guides, for the past 2 years, we at least now have each child, or at least most of our children, having a personal to hold a study guide. They have it at home. They read a physical guide during the whole week. At the end of the week, when you're discussing the lesson, at least they have an idea. It is not so for others. And I think this is something that councils should look into. I know there are other subdivisions in our classes, but we should always consider that our children, all the subdivisions, we should give them guides at least. You know, adults can have a quarterly on their phone, on their laptop. I think our budgets in terms of guides should really go to our children. I'm not saying all of it, but quite a bit of it should be given to our children. During the COVID-19 pandemic, in terms of resources, the challenges are that we send on the WhatsApp group, we send requirements for the crafts or certain printouts to be made. Not all families are able to do this. I know people will say, no, but it's 3 kwacha per page. That's 3 kwacha taken away from your weekly bread budget. It's 3 kwacha taken away from we have children who go to school via public transport. This has led to, we have children who will join class, but then will tell you, I'm not able to do my craft, or I didn't read my lesson because my mom didn't print it out for me. So you have a sad face, and that's, it's disheartening. In terms of reorganizing content, like I was mentioning, the readiness activity is very physical. So it's very difficult to incorporate it at times. And it's difficult to just talk about it at times because your child will either zone off or not really get what you're trying to get them to feel as part of the lesson. So, like I mentioned before, you learn new tricks. So we introduce, there are certain readiness activities where we ask our children to reenact it. You give them a script and you give the parents beforehand and you tell them, on your end, ask your child to do this. If it works, wonderful. Or you can do a PowerPoint. We were, a few weeks ago, we were trying to,
Sorry, Sister Claire.
yes, sorry.
We've gone beyond your time. Could you kindly?
I'm actually on my second last slide.
Okay, all right, thank you.
So you can use PowerPoints. In terms of internet, these 2 points, internet and the number of children, really affect our classes. So you find that internet, number of children, gadgets, there are those who say, I can't afford to buy bundles for the class, and that child will not be in class. Or we have more than one child in doing a class at at a time. So they can't share the gadget, or they can't do it together. So it's also, it's a challenge that we're trying to work around. Unsupervised children. Like I mentioned, our age range is 5 to 9. And the 5-year-olds, maybe even up to 7-year-old, need supervision. Our 8 to 9 virtually can do a lesson, unless that day they're being hyper, but they can do a lesson unsupervised. The younger ages need to be supervised, but then the parent is in a class, the parent is at church. Those are challenges that we encounter. So what can be done? So like I mentioned, funds can be raised to boost our resources. In our case, we can build a bigger church. You, as Unza Church, we're talking about tents outside, which is really good. Training more teachers. We are so happy we have more teachers now, but I've been told of the challenges that Unza Church is facing and the need for more teachers. If we're talking about 71 children this year, I don't know how many children you have currently, and I'm sure there are more. We need to bring our children to class early so they can take part in the lesson, the whole lesson. Be a brother's keeper. Identify members you aren't seeing in class, your children. Talk to the parent. We're talking about involving them. So involve the parent. You try to tell them how their child is missing out on certain things. Zoom versus Google Meet. With Zoom, there's that time limit for the free one. So you find that if you can't afford to pay for an account, you can migrate to Google Meet. Crafts can be made cheaply. I don't have time. I could have shown pictures of, we made a sheep out of toilet roll a few months ago. And the kids loved that so much. So make class affordable. So in conclusion, enthrall the class next Sabbath. Pray for them. Pray for our teachers. Pray for the parents. Pray for our children. We're one big happy family, one big village. We're trying to raise these children together. Proverbs 22, verse 6 says, train up a child in the way they should go, and even when they are old, they will never depart from it. So we are training up these children together. We are involving everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. A great presentation. So much information, telling us so much to learn. I didn't see any comments or questions addressing this presentation. In case we have some, I would request that perhaps we write them down, and then towards the end of the presentation, or indeed our presenter could answer the questions in the chat, looking at the time. And then there's a request from the organizers. We're asking or requesting the presenters if you would be okay to email these presentations to the organizers, and with your permission, they can then share with the rest of the attendees rather. Then also remember there's a request for our contact details, or the details required are typed in the chat. And this is for all of us who are attending, so that we can have a community where we can exchange notes and still communicate for the future. Thank you so much. We will now move on to our next presentation by Sister, sorry, I'm just trying to check the name, Sister Kayondo. our mother who was with us even yesterday. This is teaching and managing made a mistake. Sorry, this is a real-time faith. Sorry about that. So our mother will take us through teaching and managing the real-time faith class. She has 45 minutes. Hopefully it can be even less since we're running behind schedule. Thank you so much. Ma'am, are you here with us?
Yes, I am.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Please, the floor is yours.
All right, thank you. Teacher Monemba, Samtela, Sicharu. Am I pronouncing the name right?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Okay. I'd love to thank the presenters who have already done the presentations above. Cha Claire, Cha Esther, Elder Edgar, Pastor Ding, yes. Mine is about teaching and managing real-time faith class. That is the class I'm currently handling at Brentwood Church. And allow me share the screen, please. I think I can do so, right? Okay. When we talk about the real-time faith, this is the Sabbath School class designed for early teens and a Bible study guide created by the Sabbath School Department at the General Conference of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. So the lessons are designed for early teens to incorporate in their daily Bible study. And these lessons provide the basis for learning and discussion in the early teen Sabbath School class. When you look at this curriculum for the early teens or the real-time faith class, the emphasis of this curriculum is on God's kingdom of grace. That is being a recruited agent or steward, citizen of that kingdom, and the battle between it and the kingdom of evil. Being in God's kingdom requires action, that is being doers and not just listeners of how to live as God's agents on this earth. That alone is showing you that the learners in this class have to be active. They shouldn't just sit and listen, but they should be able to participate. Each quarter of this 2-year cycle is a different portion of the Sermon on the Mount, which is at once Christ's inaugural address as King of the Kingdom of Grace and also the Constitution of the Kingdom. If you were to look at the Bible commentary, the second edition, you could find the Constitution of God, of the Kingdom. Now, after the first lesson of each quarter, each of the other 12 lessons is about one, either it is a different challenge or it is a right or it is a privilege in the real time of being an agent of God's kingdom. The teachers who have taught this real-time faith class or who are teaching it right now, you could agree with me. Now, who are the members of this class? These are the 13 to 14 years of age. And as I've mentioned earlier, the early teens. Now, these are often described as an unwelcome bunch of learners that pose multiple difficulties to teachers. I wonder if the teacher of real-time faith at University SDA Church is here with us today. But I think you've heard from comments of different members that, you're handling that group? Good luck. Yes, this may be true as it is for any age group.
Sorry, Auntie Rhoda.
Yes.
We can't see the screen. Did you share it?
Oh, okay.
All right, thank you.
is it better I speak with the screen shared or I speak without sharing the screen?
Sorry, maybe is there a PowerPoint or you're just speaking with us today?
All right. Let me share the screen. All right. Is it visible now? Hello, is it visible?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so I'm asking who are the members of this class, and we all know that real-time faith is 13 and 14 years of age. And was saying that many times when you've heard that this is a group of an unwelcome bunch of learners that pose multiple difficulties to teachers. And it may be true, as it is for any age group, when you do not know how to deal with them, you label them with different names. I've been teaching teenagers for the past 20 years, and I should say they're my favorite age group. Now, this I extracted this from an interesting book. It is called Teaching the Faith, an Essential Guide for Building Faith-Shaped Kids. Okay, and the author talks about, am I still in? Is my screen still on? Hello?
No,
Hello? Is
no,
my
it's
screen,
not.
it's not? Okay.
No, it's not.
All right, I'm saying I extracted this from a book called Teaching. Okay. Oh, I know what happened. Teaching the Faith, an essential guide for building faith-shaped kids. And this is what I got from there. Okay, I think. Sorry about that, guys. That juniors are exuberant, they're noisy, they're energetic, thinking, funny, independent, they're creative, they're social, they're competitive, they're emotional, they're preteens. And then early teens, they're moving into the teens. So there's changing, thinking, emotional, changing, moody, changing some more. So wondering who they are, sometimes just like juniors, sometimes not like them at all. Welcome to the world of growing up. Now, juniors and early teens form that puzzling combination of child and adults that so often baffles us. So as a teacher of juniors and early teens, you'll pick the fruit others have planted and watered. Most kids make a decision for Christ and church membership during the junior early teen years. What a challenge, what a blessing. Now, I think this brings to your attention, teachers of real-time faith, the kind of children you are handling. They think differently to grown-ups. They are more likely to take risks. They can be sleepy. They misread emotions. They give in to peer pressure. They lack self-control. Now, the mental shift these kids make as they begin to see themselves as teenagers, combined with the physical changes their bodies experience, can make early adolescence an interesting time. I wanted to begin with this because many are times that we do not understand the kind of children that we are handling. And as a result, when we are teaching or when we are managing, we start labeling them that, I don't want that class. Now, Let us look briefly at their growth and developmental milestones. When we talk about growth and developmental milestones, here we are seeing how the child is doing compared with other children the same age. These ones will tell you what you should expect from your child in the 5 areas of physical growth, thinking and reasoning, that is the cognitive development, emotional and social development, language development, sensory and motor development. Now, I may not exhaust everything that takes place in each of these areas, but I would mention a few. Physically, these 13, 14-year-olds, they're dealing with the emotional and physical changes that accompany puberty. So they're feeling uncertain, they are moody, they are sensitive and self-conscious at times. Boys who physically mature the earliest may be more confident, but girls who mature earlier are often more self-conscious of their bodies. Now, at this age, they struggle with their appearance-related issues, such as acne on the face or being overweight, okay? Their changing bodies can be a source of pride or a cause for concern. Some teens may even be proud of their adult-like bodies, while others may be embarrassed or confused by the changes they're experiencing. That is physical development. What about emotional development? There are hormonal shifts that can contribute to mood swings. Now, when you add on the school stress or the peer problems and that they're experiencing at this age, their moods may even seem to shift from minute to minute. Today you understand your teen, tomorrow you don't understand her. Not even tomorrow, but 1 hour you understand them, another minute you don't understand them. It is again at this stage that they're starting on the road to becoming an independent young adult who has a say over their space. This is what I need, I don't want this, their body and their need for private conversations with their friends. So they think and feel that the world revolves around them. They might think everyone is staring at them, or they might assume everyone else's behavior is somehow because of them. For example, a girl may text the other and say, and then if the other person doesn't reply, or is it because maybe I did something to her or something like that? Okay, so there are great fluctuations in their self-esteem. They may feel good about themselves one day, I've already mentioned that, then extremely inadequate the other time. They tend to seek affirmation from adults that they're on the right track, even though they claim to want to do things on their own. Now, teachers, I think you're now thinking through the lines, how this would impact the way you manage and how you teach such a class. Socially, this age group, they rely more on friendships. They confide in their peers more and want to spend more time with their friends than the family. So peer pressure can be an issue, as teens often want to experience a sense of belonging. They always switch peer groups throughout the teen years as their interests shift. It is again at this age that rebellious behavior is sometimes common. Now, what about cognitively?